Wonderful, wonderful. Welcome, everybody. Once again, we're going to go ahead and get started. And if other folks are joining, they will just jump right into the party. So I'm so happy to have everybody here. I've been talking for a couple of minutes, introducing folks, shouting out where we're from. I see my friend Juhi's in the building. Juhi, drop in the chat where you're tuning in from. Obviously, I know, but everyone else doesn't. And also, you could be traveling, but based on the fact that I see your dad, I know that you are home. Shout out to my guy. Yes. Wonderful, everyone. My name is Najah Imani Muhammad. I am your host for tonight. And if you are not watching tonight and you're watching later on YouTube, we're happy that you were here. We're sorry that you missed us live, but we hope you enjoy the show. I got involved with MIPSTERZ about maybe 3 or 4 years ago for their Alhamdu music video, and then I could not get enough. MIPSTERZ is a really awesome space that is celebrating Muslims and friends of Muslims, Muslim adjacent folks, individuals who are artists, creators, educators, storytellers, people who have something to say about the world. And what's so great about MIPSTERZ is there's so many ways to do this. There's a variety of things going on all the time. So we started Good Fun Muslim Friends Show as a continuation of the Good Fun Muslim Friends Club, which was something we did in person several years ago. And it was a variety show, and everybody came, and there was music and dancing and comedy, and it was incredible. And we wanted to create a space where we can continue to connect with folks no matter where we're from. Now, of course, some folks are a little bit zoomed out, yet every time we have one of these shows, it's impactful, and whoever's here, whether the audience is 20 or 10 or 15 or 40, everyone is impacted. So we thank you for making time for us at the end of the summer and for being here today, because we have a lineup of guests who are just plain dope. Welcome to Good Fun Muslim Friends Show. All right, so before we get started, I want to shout out again where we've got people joining us from. So we've got Brooklyn in the house, and if you love Brooklyn, or you want to go to Brooklyn, or you are feeling anything during the show, feel free to throw an emoji in the chat, throw some words of encouragement in the chat, and show us that you are here and you're with us. So once again, we got Brooklyn in the house. We've got Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We have New York, other areas, upstate. I'm in Beacon, New York. My friend Juhi's in Newburgh, New York. Shout out MB and Y. We got Apex, North Carolina, Raleigh, North Carolina. Where else? We've got Dallas, Texas. That is awesome. So there's people from all over. And this is Good Fun Muslim Friends Show. Today, we have a mixture of folks joining us, from human rights activists to storytellers to folks who are artists and educators, and it's going to be an incredible lineup. So buckle your seats, folks. We're in for an incredible ride. Up first, we have, let's see. I want to make sure we're ready. Beautiful. This is a little bit of a change that we can fix in post, but we're going to help my friend out a little bit. Martina, you're going to be up first, which is a change. And guess what? Sometimes we flow with it, and it's going to be awesome. Let me tell you a little bit about my new friend, Martina Abrahams Ilunga. Martina Abrahams Ilunga is a Brooklyn-based creative entrepreneur, storyteller, and community builder, innovating the practice of oral tradition. Her mission is to create pathways to connection, healing, and liberation through storytelling. Inspired by diasporic interconnectedness and cooperative economics, Martina is building a trusted and sought-after home for global, expansive Black storytelling. Martina is the CEO of You Had Me at Black, a storytelling studio setting a new standard for Black narratives that prioritize care, nuance, authenticity, and honesty. As the force behind the award-winning programs You Had Me at Black and Natal, the company's work lives in the sweet spot of impact and entertainment. Most recently, she is a founding member of the coalition behind Black Storytelling Week, and which is a new holiday celebrating oral tradition. Martina, I cannot wait for your presentation. Take it away, girl.
Thank you so much. Now, I would love it if you all could please humor me for a few moments and drop a plus sign in the chat if in the past year you have personally have hosted a family cookout or holiday. Drop those plus signs in the chat if you've done that. Oh, I love this. Yes. Okay. We are some active folks. Now, y'all have a little bit of rallying to do to gather your friends, because this past Memorial Day, I was scrolling through on what we now call X, and I saw this tweet, and it said, who is going to tell the millennials that it's time for them to step into their roles as cookout hosts, aunties, and leaders of the electric slide? Now, as you can imagine, this tweet sparked a very spirited debate. There are lots of comments about the circumstances that have led our adulthood to look very different from the adulthood of our parents. But all that discourse aside, there was this reluctant acknowledgement that some of our cultural traditions are starting to slip away. And a realization that, oh crap, we are the adults in the room now. And with adulthood comes a cultural responsibility, a responsibility to bring people together, to pass on family recipes and carry on traditions and history. And so my last question is, drop a plus sign in the chat if you feel ready for all of that. My name is Martina Abrahams Ilunga. There we go. And I am a storyteller, a community builder, and a creative entrepreneur. I identify as both a griot and a world builder. And my work reimagines the timeless art of oral tradition. All right, a couple delays. I'm also the founder and CEO of You Had Me at Black. We are a storytelling studio setting a new standard for Black narratives. And rather than focusing on representation, we're focused on how Black storytelling can facilitate pathways to connection, healing, and personal and collective liberation. All right, so our media programs and our projects create moments to experience and share stories that are for, by, and about everyday Black folks. And since getting started in 2016, our work has reached folks in over, oh, there we go. Our work has reached over 500,000 people in almost 200 countries. So for me personally, the people that I consider my tribe and who I tend to create art and creative work for are Black millennials who are also in love with Blackness. And in the spirit of the late, great Nina Simone, my work reflects our realities, our hopes, our dreams, our challenges, and our fears. And in order to do this well, I'm always studying and surveying the cultural and media landscape. And recently, beyond there just not being enough cookouts, 3 challenges have stood out to me. High rates of depression, loneliness, and anxiety within the Black community, a need for intergenerational connection and conversations, and resurged erasure and attacks against Black history. And so, as I was kind of reviewing and observing these trends over the last few months and years, really through the pandemic, I had a desire, and the idea came to create a more intentional culture around intergenerational exchange, storytelling, and history preservation, and an opportunity to really support my fellow millennials and stepping into our roles as the culture and tradition carriers that we were meant to be. And so I'm excited to share with you all Black Storytelling Week, a new global holiday dedicated to sharing and recording Black family stories. So take some time to imagine with me. Imagine you gather your people, the people that you love, whether they're adopted, biological, or chosen, and looking through a stack of old photographs and maybe asking the oldest person in the room to bring those photos to life, who they were, how they lived, what they might have accomplished, and discovering that you might share something in common with them. Or uncovering generational cycles that once brought to light can spark breakthroughs, inspire healing, and bring you and your loved ones closer. Black Storytelling Week is your opportunity to do just that. Now, with any cultural movement, cultural movements cannot be developed and built on their own. And so I've rallied a really passionate and talented community. Oh, sorry. I'm having some direction challenges today. All right. Can you all see the slide with the frames?
Yes.
Thank you so much. And so I've rallied some talented and passionate community builders, healers, and artists to develop, grow, and activate this tradition in community. We formed a coalition and are working through a Black feminist and trauma-informed lens to ensure that Black folks of all identities and intersections and all kinds of families can access and benefit from this holiday. Now, you might be wondering, when is Black Storytelling Week? It is coming up the second week of September. So that this year, that's September 10th through 16th, and it'll be our inaugural Black Storytelling Week. And we're starting with a simple pilot, 1,000 families dedicating at least 1 hour to sharing their family stories with each other during that week. As Black Storytelling Week grows, we envision creating curriculum guides for educators, emotional support resources, and organizing events and programming to celebrate the holiday and foster a deeper engagement within local and global communities. I apologize, y'all. And over time, we'll explore what building an ethical repository of global Black stories might look like, whether it's through installations, media, or other formats. But in short, we really just want your family gatherings to look less like this and look more like this. So if this resonates with you, we have 3 ways for you to get involved. First, just celebrate with your family. You can sign up to be one of the first 1,000 families to participate in our pilot and gather your folks to share your stories and talk about where you come from. The second is we're looking to partner with organizations and artists and people who are in community with Black folks to help spread the word and activate families for our first inaugural year. And if you have any connections to writers or the press, we're looking for folks to help us amplify the narrative by sharing it broadly. You can visit our website at the QR code here on the screen, or you can get in touch with us at letstalk@blackstorytellingweek.com. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Let's give it up for Martina. Beautiful. I was taking notes as I was listening, just because I want to really make sure to be a part of this with my own family. So I'm really grateful for you sharing this. So thank you. Yeah, can we drop in the chat how we're feeling after hearing about that? Whether you're a member of the Black community or a friend, what are your thoughts? And we've got some questions that came in as well. So Martina, are you ready to chat a little bit?
I'm ready. Thank you.
All right, beautiful. So my first question for you is, I want to run it back to how you started, right? You gave us a little bit of your history, but I truly, truly want to know, like, how you birthed You Had Me at Black. I want to hear a little bit more about that. When did it come about? How you came up with it and where you wanted to go? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for the question. You Had Me at Black was a kind of a slow simmer of a start. I, in a past life, was working in corporate America and not really loving it, and just had a desire, a love of storytelling, a love of learning people's stories and where they come from and the things that connect us, but also understanding, especially within the African diaspora, the threads that tie us together. And I knew I wanted to create some sort of platform, but I wasn't quite sure in what kind of format or what medium. I knew I wasn't really a writer. Video felt really intimidating. But there was one afternoon, I used to live in Oakland, California, and I was walking around, there's a lake called Lake Merritt, and I was walking around the lake with my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, and just asking him about just questions about him growing up. He grew up in South Africa, and just and started recording him because I felt like he was just dropping gems. And I was like, ooh, I'm gonna make a podcast. And so that's how You Had Me at Black started. Okay. It started as a podcast where we would pass the mic to everyday folks to share true life stories in their own words. And from there, we started hosting live events and doing them in cities across the country. And it really grew into this really amazing community. But then COVID hit and kind of shut things down. And so from there, it was a nice opportunity to think about, what does the future of this look like? How can we best serve the folks that have been tuning in? And also, how can we start to maybe make some money off of that? Because I had also quit my job a couple of months prior to the pandemic hitting.
Yeah.
And that's how we evolved into a studio where we do work with different clients like media companies and nonprofits and cultural institutions. We produce audio media, but we also do stuff for different installations. We do some consulting and strategic work. So it grew organically just out of community and a desire to platform everyday people's stories.
I love that. And I love that everything you've talked about so far, both in your presentation and in your response to that question, it all comes back to community, building community, celebrating community, lifting community up. So that's just beautiful. Awesome. Thank you. So we have another question for you, which is, what is a tradition you want to maintain but remix for the next generation?
Ooh, that's a great question. So I think a tradition that I definitely want to maintain is a tradition of like oral history, right? And the way in which like African people across the world for millennia have transferred our history through the spoken word. And I think that manifests itself in many different ways. Like we see it in hip hop music, that's a form of oral tradition,
Mhm.
right? People joke about their grandmothers, not following a recipe and their moms knowing the same recipe. That's a form of oral tradition. And a lot of the stories and things that we hear are passed down through the spoken word. And so that's definitely a tradition I want us to continue to do and to like kind of cultivate a more intentional culture around. I think the way I'd want to remix it is what we talk about, right? It's really the difficult stuff, the tough stuff that needs to come to light in order for us to like heal, right? And maybe come together. I think that as millennials, we have become a lot more comfortable talking about mental health and seeking out different types of healing for mental health and reducing like shame and stigma around that. And so I would love to see more of those conversations come into family spaces like intergenerationally so that more things can be brought to light and people can have the support from family to move through different things that affect all of us every day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. And I think that, not to generalize an entire generation, but we hopefully will be the generation to make that happen for our kids and grands, because there has been so much stigma
Yeah,
um, around talking about things like mental health, as opposed to just, well, we power through it because that's what we do, you know? And definitely
exactly.
as Black people, that's what we do. And we, there's other cultures who feel that as well. But
Yeah.
I specifically, with your work you're doing, I love that you mentioned being able to have more conversations in my own family's practice. um it was said, like, can we do with the extended family some family therapy and have more stories be told, because why are we
Mhm.
holding it in? Because that's not helping us to heal by ignoring whatever's happened in the past. So yeah, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
um
That's a great question. So thank you for asking,
yes, yes,
Juhi.
and thank you, Juhi, for that question. And then I guess the last question we have, just for now, um I'd love to know, do you have a story that you'd like to share that's been passed down from someone in your family, whether chosen or biological?
Do I feel like of course, but then on the spot, I'm like, ooh, let's see. I think I would say that one story that's been passed down that's also kind of just like a big value is the value of family sticking together no matter what. So my mom is Haitian, my dad's African American, but my mom's mom and all her siblings, there were five of them, all moved to Haiti, um, moved from Haiti to the States, and have just created such a tight knit bond. And I have cousins where when we track back like how we're related, it's like our great grandmothers were sisters, but we're still cool today. And that's so rare for, a family to still be connected across like oceans, across countries. My mom said that was really the doing of her grandfather, who I never got the chance to meet. And so I think growing up, I used to be really annoyed because my mom would always say things like, "You don't need friends, you have your family." And I think a lot of other people can relate to those kind of messages. But now that I'm an adult, I understand the value in that, and I think, and that's something that I cherish, that I have family that I'm like close with, that we're not as closely related, but you're my cousin, and it's like it's a tight relationship. So it's less of a story, but I think more of a value that I'm really starting to cherish and appreciate a lot more now, because I recognize how valuable and rare it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Thank you. And I'm gonna have that ingrained in my brain forever. You don't need friends. You have your family.
We do need friends. We do, everyone. We do need friends. We need friends and family.
But I love that your mom said that growing up. Well, beautiful. Martina, thank you so much. And thank you for sharing how we can get involved and get in touch. Folks who are listening in, you can see in the chat links to look at the Black Storytelling Week website, to check out Black Storytelling Week on Instagram, and follow Martina on Twitter. Make sure you put 2 underscores after the M. And Martina, thank you so much for joining us. You are incredible. We appreciate you. Throw some love in the chat and make some noise for Martina. Thank you. Much gratitude. Rakan says whoop whoop, and I feel you, Rakan. Martina, that was wonderful, and I cannot wait to participate with Black Storytelling Week with my own family. Folks who are either watching at home later on or tuned in right now with our intimate crowd, if you would like to donate to or get involved with MIPSTERZ, this is a beautiful time as we are expanding our programming so that we can highlight our community members who are doing such dope things. So we always welcome anybody who would like to be a part of our community. Specifically, some of what we need right now is if anyone's interested in being a guest for a future Good Fun Muslim Friends show. If you know a friend who should be a guest, email us after, drop their name. If you are watching and you want to be a guest, let us know. Donations, specifically monthly donations, help us so that we can eventually pay our guests and artists, so that we can eventually do this in person again. And of course, we just want you to keep showing up and telling your friends what a great time you had, whether it's for this or other MIPSTERZ events. So shout out to all the MIPSTERZ events, and shout out to everybody who's here and supporting us. We love you. Up next, I am super duper excited to introduce to you my guy, Kabir Qurban, who I just met today, but is an incredible educator and human rights advocate. I love Kabir already because I can tell that he is somebody who champions anybody who's in a room and really shouts them out. I can imagine being a student of his would make me feel so whole and so full. So thank you, Kabir, for being here. Kabir is a secondary school teacher, an acclaimed human rights advocate, and a nonprofit executive. He is serving as a program coordinator at Muslim Food Bank and Community Services, the executive director with Free Uyghur Now, and is also a lead member at Afghan Diaspora of Vancouver. Shout out to Vancouver. Kabir is committed to supporting the Uyghur people and advocating their human rights as part of a broader commitment to youth education and human rights for all. In addition, he is an award-winning film producer and authors his own blog, sharing reflections about his work and life. Let's welcome Kabir. Welcome.
Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Okay.
How you feeling?
Me, honestly, I'm gonna be. Today is the average day, and the average day is very hectic. Alhamdulillah, can't complain. I just got out of a meeting, and then after this, I have another meeting. But this is the life when you decide to actually do advocacy work. It never really ends. And I guess to start some of this conversation, let's see if I'm trying to just skip. I wanted to let everyone know, like, what is really advocacy? You know, I don't really like to call it activism, because when you say the word activist, then they, you know, there's certain connotations that come with this, and unfortunately, the word activist has, in recent days, really been polarized. It's, you know, you're either out there hugging trees, or, you know, just standing in front of a crowd and yelling with your hair colored. But advocacy has changed quite a bit. And with anything in society nowadays, you know that it's all been shifted toward this more digital realm. So I'm going to try to speak a little bit about what I do, but also give you some information about what advocacy really is. Advocacy is taking action to create change, right? It is helping people find their voice, especially when I don't, for a Muslim community, it's very evident the identity that they have been trying to, strip from us. The fact that religion, unfortunately, in the media has been equated with hocus pocus. This is something that we need to reclaim. We need to also, this is a very important one, is helping people really understand their rights, whether it be international rights, domestic or Islamic. This is just a very general overview of what advocacy is. Advocacy can be a whole degree. So for me to sit here and, cap about the fact that I'm going to tell you all about advocacy in the next couple of minutes is very much that. It's a cap. But inshallah, we will try to just open up the field, and I can tell you a little bit about more the work that I do. Today's agenda, very easy, is, taking action to create change, helping people find their voice, helping people understand their rights, and spreading awareness on a cause, which a lot of times requires you to spend. So why do people advocate? This is something I want you to really reflect on, is why are people driven to stand and do this to become these overworked and underpaid individuals that are not always liked, that are not always celebrated, that oftentimes, I as an Uyghur individual, I have instances where I can go to an Uyghur wedding, and because of the fact that I am an advocate, and because there is a Chinese government literally on my ass about some of this stuff, that people at this wedding would be like, hey, when the photographer comes around, can you just leave this photo, because I don't want to be seen in a photo with you because it puts me at danger. And that is all the more reason why I should advocate. The type of advocacy that I do, the type of advocacy that a lot of Uyghur people do, if you're not aware of the Uyghur cause, since 2016, and I really do, this is a good friends, it's supposed to be happy, uplifting show, and I'm gonna try to do my best to keep it that. But the reality is that the work that I do is fighting genocides. I am trying to prevent further oppression of what is happening with the Uyghur people. So I want you to, in your head, think for a moment, and I'll give you 30 seconds, I'll count on my fingers, is what does family-based advocacy mean to you? This is my best friend. May Allah have mercy on her. She passed away last year on April 9th. This is my grandmother, and she is my wife. An individual that was born in East Turkestan, occupied territory by China. Actually, same year that Palestine was occupied by Israel, East Turkestan was occupied by China. She had to flee, go to Afghanistan on a route that took about maybe 3 months on foot, through the mountains, through Punjab, making her way to Afghanistan. My father was born in Afghanistan. That's why I actually have very rich Afghan roots, is because as much as I am Canadian, my parents are Afghan. And I have gained this Afghanness from this. I speak Farsi. My family's lineage runs through that land. And then we moved to Kazakhstan, and that's where I was born. And then we came to Canada as refugees. And then in 2016, when my family was disconnected from the many other family members which we had in East Turkestan, that is what family-based advocacy is. There's a phenomena that we've noticed in the Uyghur diaspora, family members, that you will speak up. So when I asked you earlier, why do people speak up? Why do people advocate? Now imagine your family members being stripped away from you. All these individuals you see here, they're my friends. They are not just some unreachable advocates and activists, like the Malala Yousafzai has now become like an international celebrity. And if you want to sit down with her, it becomes very hard. But these are individuals that, you're in the East Coast. Some of you, they live very close to you. Some of them live in DC. Some of them live in Boston. This is Tumaris Yalkun on the top right, holding her father's photo. He's Yalkun Rozi, who is a poet. Then you see Rahila Dawood. She was an anthropologist in the photo in the middle. Jawhar Ilham in the bottom left corner. Her father was working very hard in trying to figure out ways that Uyghur and Chinese cultures can coexist, and he was taken away. Imagine that. Now, there was a significant rise in development over the Uyghur diaspora, specifically in the grassroots movements during those peak years of the genocide where people have lost contact with their family members. These are individuals in Australia, regular family members, average Joes that, like myself, I am a high school teacher, but how can I allow myself to just go on with my days without actually doing something? One of the reasons I advocate is I'm fearful of the day I have to stand in front of my Rabb, in front of Allah, and testify to him, where he tells me, I gave you the capacity of public speech. I gave you the skills. I made you somewhat funny so you can actually keep an audience going. And what did you do with that? I also took away some of your family members. I gave you a path. Now, what did you do with that? Did you speak up on their behalf? So that's a lot of the reasons that a lot of these Uyghur folk actually step up, is they are fearful of the day where they have to testify to their Lord and say that I had family members missing and I either did or didn't do something. Now, I understand that a lot of you here are not Uyghurs, that probably I'm the only Uyghur, and for some of you, I may be the first Uyghur you ever met. Now, the future of Uyghur advocacy is very much dependent on global solidarity, because we can't expect individuals like myself to maintain this trajectory after, let's say, China manages to do what they did, after they already colonized everyone's, not just the land, it's already been colonized, but the mental space. We cannot allow individuals to colonize our minds, to colonize our ideas and identities. So this global solidarity is something that we must work very closely and hard towards. And what I mean by global solidarity is not this transactional advocacy. Too many slides. This transactional advocacy where I go to the Afghan rallies and I tell them, oh yeah, I'm the Uyghur guy here showing up for the Afghan cause, so I need you to show up at my events. No, that's not what we need. We need sincere and genuine connection to one another. That because I am a man who has no ties physically to his motherland anymore, I would very much associate myself with the Palestinian cause and those individuals who are very much undergoing a similar plight. No, and also it's very important that we connect based on these issues rather than going to one another and saying, you scratch my back when I scratch yours. This is similar to how we should treat, climate change. A lot of times we say, let's save our planet. That's such a very colonial way of looking at things. You don't save our planet. It is the one that has been providing for us. You should love the planet. And the planet, if you love it, you will take care of it. And similarly with other causes, you should go there for the sake of loving one another. Step one, you have to learn about any cause if you want to be an advocate. Learn. You can't just go out there and expect to be an expert. Step two, educate. Educate the people around you. And through that circle, once you have learned and once you have educated people, naturally you're one of ways to act. Just trying to go to the next slide. Oh. I want you to use your strengths. I am a high school teacher by profession. I was not some trained advocate. Anyone can be an advocate, whether you're in media, whether you're a bus driver, whether you're a principal at a secondary school, you can use your platform and use your strengths. This is a drawing that we made for a point where I had no idea how we can do advocacy. So I reached out to my friends. One of them was a marketing director. So we came up with an idea and we managed to go viral to really spread the message. And this is a quick shameless plug. I apologize. If you are interested further into any of the words that I said, we are looking for interns at Free Uyghur now, right? And the way you could apply is through this link. It's a QR code. It's gonna pop up any second, and that's me. And I really do appreciate you making time to listen to this, and for MIPSTERZ, for really being there for the community. Muslim futurism, we were not just the past. We came up with so many cool things, but we are the future. And this is you and I. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. Yes, throw some love in the chat for Kabir. Thank you so much for making time to be here in the midst of a hectic day, as you mentioned. You said it was a normal day, and normal is hectic. I understand that life of running from one thing to another. So truly, thank you for making time to continue your work and to let us in on it. I truly appreciate that. You mentioned early on, you know, like this is supposed to be light and fun. It's supposed to be real, and so I'm so happy that you kept it real. You inherently are light and you're fun and you're easy, you know, to connect with. And what I appreciate is that that aspect of you didn't change while you were sharing your truth and sharing everything that's going on, or not even everything, just a bit. So I truly appreciate that. Something you said resonated with me about making sure, you know, you're pleasing your Lord, our Lord, and you were like, you know, Allah made you funny. Now, what are you going to do with that? I gave you a path. Now, what are you going to do with that? And that really resonated for me because I'm often thinking about what I had a talk with my mom. I know it's supposed to be an interview for you, but you really, what you said resonated with me. I had a talk with my mom recently about pretty much what you talked about. And I was like, I just want to be a better Muslim. And like, I'm out here making art and I'm out here teaching kids. And I'm like, but is that what Allah wants me to be doing? And she said what you said. And she was like, He gave you this as your path. And you are helping His people, and you're teaching kids to find their voice and to do this. And once again, not about me. But sometimes we don't listen when we hear it from our moms. You know, it's like, oh, you're just saying that. So to hear that you were given this lightness, right? And you're using your light to speak about things that matter to you and that matter to the world, or should matter to the world, was really inspiring. So before I get into the questions, I want to start by saying thank you for sharing that, because that helped me. So I appreciate that. Now, not necessarily to keep things light, but to keep things moving, we have a couple questions for you, Kabir. So the first one is, I know you said that your grandmother, may Allah be pleased with her, is your why. I would love to hear, similar to with Martina, a little bit about when you realized that you could use your voice to reach people. So I understand the cause, and I'm sure there's other causes that you stand for, but this one being specific and being, you know, threaded into everything you do. But when did you realize that you could use your voice to reach people and to get into advocacy?
I'd say it was very natural. It wasn't, so, you know, really quickly, I went into molecular biology and biochemistry when I went into university for my undergrad. And that's because I wanted to do medicine. I wanted to help people. And that's always been something that I wanted to do. But then after volunteering in the medical industrial complex, I'm like, okay, you are working hard to become an employee. And then simultaneously as that happened, the genocide on the Uyghur people occurred, where my mother lost contact with her younger brother and all of her cousins. Over 30 family members I have missing in China right now. And in a moment like that, you're like, okay, like, do I really have a choice? You know what I mean? Like my mom doesn't have the capacity she didn't know English as well as I did. She didn't have really the capacity to go to news platforms and demand that people write about this topic. So I had to be an extension of that. And I said, okay, I'm going to do this. And then I stepped up. I did a few things. And trauma really brings people together in the best way. I guess we need to heal together. And the Uyghur community is very much aware of that. And we're very connected internationally. So when opportunities came about to get trained in advocacy, and, you know, alhamdulillah, I grew up wanting to travel. I didn't know how that was going to happen. But through advocacy, I have been to very, very like fun places. I met some of the MIPSTERZ teams when I went to New York for some advocacy work. I've met individuals in film festivals, and I realized that I can use my creative passion to do advocacy. That we are, you know, that I'm trying to market a product, and that product is, you know, this advocacy work. which film festival? Mosquers. It's in Edmonton, an amazing film festival. It's like Oscars but Mosquers. You get it? It's
Yes,
vibes,
yes.
amazing. Make time to check it out. Bit like, shameless plug, Mosquers, Muslim International Film Festival. We won an award for a short film that we made. It was about prayer space awareness. Absolutely, absolutely amazing. Can't complain. Yeah, it was just natural process. People kept putting me up, allowing me to speak. And then there was a time where I actually decided to go public about it, like actually put my name, because I would do behind the scenes work because I was fearful of like China targeting me. And then I made istikhara, and it was clear that I needed to step up, and that was a very good decision I've made in life. And since then, I have had the privilege to go to a lot of cool places. I've been to the UN. Inshallah, this is something that it's not like I've been like it's a continuous thing, and this is something I wanted to do growing up, but just seeing the odds for me to maintain the path.
The last bit of what you said cut out a little bit. Could you say that last sentence for us?
Yeah, just saying that, because the doors have been opening, it means that I'm doing the right thing. And Allah has, as you put in the effort, Allah opens the doors.
Alhamdulillah. That's beautiful. Absolutely wonderful. We have just a couple more questions for you. You covered a lot. So thank you. I'm wondering, and I probably could use context clues, but what subject do you teach for high school? And then the second question to that is, do you encourage and incorporate advocacy within your students?
100%. I'll answer the second one. Yes, I do. And I utilize, I take it I use being a substitute teacher to my advantage. So every single day, 120 new kids, right? 120 new kids. And these are the future of our community. And because I am a substitute teacher, but I do focus specifically on the sciences, biology, chemistry, physics, that was my passion growing up. But I have taught everything from dance to drama to English classes to computer studies, because I'm a substitute. And like, once if you could teach physics, like you could teach pretty much anything else in school. No disrespect to any of the other teachers, but I am a substitute teacher by choice. I have been offered many positions, but because I have to do a lot of travel for my advocacy work, I can't take a position. Just like in September, I'm actually going to be out of town for 2 months. I have to do a lot of meeting. I have to go abroad, alhamdulillah, for a lot of these meetings. But it's I use it to my advantage. It's almost divine. I don't want to say that, but like to be able to teach 120 new kids and really just like spark their mind. Hey, have you heard about the Uyghur people? They say no. It's like, well, I'm Uyghur. Here's the resource. Go check it out. I'm not there like, oh, down your throat with this, like, no, you don't need to be that guy who's just like constantly agenda oriented. Like, I'm here for work. Like, let's do some, force equals MA. Like, let's do some calculus. Like, you want to learn about the ecology? Yeah, that's what I'm here for. But if people are asking, like, they always ask, what do you do? Why don't you just get a job here? I tell them the honest truth, and it works.
Mashallah, that's awesome. Beautiful. And the last question is, we're just wondering, does TikTok suppress Uyghur advocacy content? Do you know if TikTok actually suppresses that and makes it so that we're not learning about it?
Yes, yes. I actually, 100%.
Okay.
It is, leave it at that. It is, they're like I am monitored by the Chinese government. It's, I'm not shy of that. I'm not like, I think more people should know that. It's not something that I should be scared of letting people know. Like the more people that are aware of this, like I am always being monitored by the Chinese government. My website, every Tuesday, I have 2 dedicated fans from China. Now I'm wondering, is it a dedicated fan, that 2 of them that are just tuning in every Tuesday, or am I on someone's list of tasks that they have to go through every Tuesday? So
That part.
alhamdulillah. One of the things I actually want to share is I was in a room with all these advocates and activists, and the speakers told us, by the way, everyone here is being monitored, and everyone gasped. They're like, what? But he said, wait, a country who has tech that you are not even aware of feels the need to monitor you, a high school teacher. Now, it's because you do have power, because they are scared of you, because you are indeed doing the right work and truth will prevail, and they're aware of it. That's why they are monitored. So it is, alhamdulillah, we are doing the right thing, and we are very much capable of getting work done. If anything has been done in the past, you can do it again.
Period. Period. Thank you so much, Kabir. We're capable of getting that work done, and let's do it. Exactly. You know, substitute teacher, you know, period. Thank you so much. Look in the chat and we can throw it again. We have information for how to get involved and also how to stay connected with Kabir. You are absolutely awesome. Thank you for the work that you're doing, and I can't wait to stay in touch. Throw some love in the chat for Kabir, and assalamu alaikum. Thank you
Jazakallah khairan for this opportunity. Alaikum
Yes.
salam.
Oh, beautiful. I'm feeling inspired. We had two guests that inspired me. Now, this next guest, Rakan, you got some. Let me stop. I already know you're going to inspire me because I've met you in person and your energy is off the chain and your art is absolutely delicious. I'm super excited to bring up our next guest. Our next guest is Rakan DiarBakerli, who is currently working at the National Museum of Art at Duke University after 10 years of teaching science in the classroom. So there's a lot of teaching happening and storytelling and community. I love it. Rakan has an undergraduate degree in zoology and a master's in art and design, which are both from North Carolina State University. Rakan is passionate about cultural learning, exploration of the natural world, gaming, and visual storytelling. Heard that word again. Any opportunity he finds, disposable income, it goes straight to finding his next adventure in a land he has never been. He hopes to immerse himself in new cultures, languages, and food with people he has never met before. I love it. So Rakan, you are an explorer. You are somebody who wants change, who wants to try new things. You are somebody who is always learning, apparently always teaching and always growing. Rakan, thank you for being here. How are you feeling this evening?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for having us today.
Yes.
Appreciate your energy. Excuse me. Ugh. Had a lot to speak on today. Thank you. You're amazing. Thank you. I'm doing great. I'm truly inspired by two previous speakers. They're doing great work in the spaces that they're in. Some in more local, intimate settings, and others in international efforts. And it's so inspiring to see that kind of effort go and be just as meaningful across the board in such a dynamic way. So yeah, I'm feeling great today. This is an awesome show.
Yes, I feel the same way. Well, you're up. Take it away. I'm going to disappear and the floor is yours.
I appreciate that. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it. My name is Rakan DiarBakerli. Thanks for the introduction. And I have a lot to share, but it's different than what you've already heard. As was said, my experience is primarily in education. I've taught since I was 20 in the public school system. I was teaching earth science, environmental science, biology, chemistry, physics, everything within the sciences. And it's been so amazing to be able to touch young hearts and young souls. I've taught a whole range of ages, from elementary school all the way to college, but most of the time was in high school. And as much as I'm teaching, they're teaching me. But at the core of everything, I've learned that in anything that I share publicly with the world, like through social media, through my work, through my efforts, through my interactions with people, I always find myself teaching everyone around me, like how things work, how to see things, how to understand things, how to have a better way of viewing something. Like even when I'm on my travels and I'm like, oh, I'm just chilling and like looking at the mountains or looking at the trees or looking at the water or eating new food, I'm noticing that I constantly take that as an opportunity to share with everyone, like, yo, look at this, and this is how I got here, and this is how you could get here, and this is what I'm gaining from this, and maybe you can benefit from that as well. Yeah. So after teaching for 10 years in the public school system, it's constantly been an exhausting journey. I'm coming home every day just completely fried, completely exhausted, fulfilled, not to say the least, but unsustainably. And here, particularly in North Carolina, the education system is, the public education system is so bad. I'm sad to say, I'm sad to say that, like, in terms of resources and teacher satisfaction and teacher pay, is the lowest in the entire United States. We're 50th in the nation, and we've been 50th. There was a year where we teetered like 49th, and then we went back to being the 50th in terms of that. And I had my own veteran teachers telling me, you know, get out while you still can. You can still pivot, try to do something else. I'm like, oh man, is it really that bad? And sure enough, it just continued to, I tried to stick it out, really. And it's a system that benefits off the goodwill of people trying to raise money for the teachers, teachers who really care about what they do, take an advantage of that love that they have. And I don't mean to be like a Debbie Downer, but like a lot needs to change in terms of public education here in this country. Yeah, so that's when I really decided to make a shift. And now I'm working in an art museum, but guess what? I'm still teaching there. It's a very different experience. No more parent-teacher conferences, no more grades, no more classroom management. It's a completely different vibe. And I get to talk about art like all the time. And I'm writing lesson plans about art, and I just get to have like the best of a teaching experience. And it's still really fulfilling, but I always want to give back in any way possible. So that being said, I'm going to share with you 4 websites of things that I've done, things I've worked on, and I want you to notice the common thread of education in all the things that I'm sharing, okay? Because you'll see that it's stuff that is wildly different, and like it's so weird. I mean, like, how is this one guy doing all these different things? Just understand that it's all tied together by the drive to teach and the drive to learn. So let's screen share over here. Oh, host as disabled participant screen sharing. Would you be so kind as to give me permission, Shimul? Thank you so much. So the first thing I'm gonna share with you is my artwork. Funny story, being someone from an Arab family. I've always loved to do art, but my parents told me, don't do that. It's not going to make money. Do something in the sciences. And so I had abandoned my passions and creativity to study sciences. But now I'm finally coming back to the point where I'm practicing that and doing that on the side and almost like primarily. Thanks. I appreciate that. All right. Let's share my Chrome. Okie dokie. Is everything visible? Thanks.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So first I'm going to share my portfolio website. It has a wide range of creative works that I've done. You'll find that I've done work in illustration, animation. I've done work in graphics, in graphic design and branding. I've done works in typography. I've played around with VFX and 3D modeling. I didn't like it that much, but it was a good exploration. You learn about your stuff. I did a lot in film as well. I love to share this stuff. And then for my master's thesis, when I did my art and design, I ended up creating a video game. It's like a narrative, story-driven video game. Again, going back to storytelling. And I'm going to give you a synopsis of it real quick when we get to that point. And then some fine art, like old stuff I did, like illustrations, drawings, paintings, like all physical medium stuff. So we'll go through that in just a moment. Also, I did some work in 2019, which I'm really proud of and I want to share. It's a successful project that we had in Kenya, which is a country I grew up in, among many other countries. But it's a remote island to the east of the east coast of Kenya, called Lamu, and it's an island that had one of the first contacts with Muslims in the African Eastern Africa. And the Muslim community there is almost over 800 years old, and they have deep-rooted heritage and knowledge and practices in Islam, and knowledge, the studying of the Quran and the fiqh, and practicing and even perfecting that knowledge and moving to different parts of the world to be leaders in their own right. We created a Launch Good campaign to rebuild their Quran school. And if you have a moment, I want you guys to check out this proposal video that I put together. The goal was $200,000, and we were able to raise that in about 2 years. It was amazing. But while I was there documenting everything that happened there, I got to know the kids and I learned a lot about them, but I also was truly humbled and changed a lot as a person, having got this firsthand experience. And really appreciative for what I already have, and also slightly embarrassed with what they know that I don't know. Like, they really humbled me, like, yo, these kids are teaching me, and like, I'm native Arab speaker, I was born and raised Muslim, and like, these kids are like amazing. Like, there's no word for how spectacular the quality of knowledge that comes out. And then just recently, about 3 weeks ago, using my illustrations, which we're going to go through in just a moment, I opened up an Etsy store, which I'm very happy and proud of. And if you'll see, we have ourselves at 9 sales, guys. 9. I'm so proud of it. It's amazing. And right now I have with more to come, but this is something that's been on my mind for over 10 years, something I've always wanted to do. And I finally started to put the effort into, selling my digital work and their prints. I'd love to get that word out there. And of course, a social, so like an Instagram page for the artwork I'm doing. But you'll notice that even in doing that, the behind the scenes of some of the work, I'm showing process, I'm showing strategy, I'm showing tools. Like, I'm noticing that I'm teaching people how to make art as I'm making the art that I want to sell. So yeah, if you notice that common thread in all the things I'm doing. But yeah, that's a little bit about myself. I just want to glaze over some of my illustrations, which I'm so proud of, and I love very, very much. You'll notice that a lot of the things that I do, I try to represent culture. I try to represent authenticity, and I try to tell a story through that, even if it's not my own, trying to give a voice to like others. But also, I love video games and the stories that they tell. And you'll see sometimes next to some of my illustrations, I have some video process that shows you like a time lapse of the illustration being made over 30 seconds. And again, yeah, and if anyone is wanting to do this and wants to learn about the tools, this is a way for me to communicate. You can talk to me about what you want, and maybe I can help enable your journey and your passions. So yeah, plenty of that here. That's pretty much it. I'm a huge Zelda fan too, so you'll notice some of that. Bedouin pop art. And my voice, I'm still trying to find it in this digital medium. There's a lot of things there's a lot of stories I want to tell, and I'm still learning and figuring out what my voice is in this medium. Here's some hand-drawn animations from the video game that I put together. Yeah, I guess that's, I wrote a couple comic pages. That was a fun experience too. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. You'll notice that this was the picture that was used for my slide. Thank you, Shimul. Appreciate that. Okay, that's all I have to share. I'm gonna stop sharing now. Boom, and I'll pump in the links for everything here in the chat right now if you'd like to explore any of it.
Thank you. I like that ending. Okay, that's all I'm gonna share. Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing all of that. It's really cool to hear about your journey. I had only been introduced to you as an artist, right? So I didn't know until I read your bio a few days back
Yeah.
the rest of the journey.
I'm it's not as profound and as impactful as my other two speakers who have spoken before me. This is a very personal thing. So I'm sorry, but thank you.
I mean, you know, and I disagree. It's profound and impactful. And one thing that you mentioned, a couple things. You said that education is like the thread line through everything that you do. Even when you're not even trying to educate, you're still educating. Even when you're sharing what you've designed, you're showing how you did it, and you don't know who you're impacting. And the other part too, um, you mentioned, and I'm gonna butcher what you said, but you mentioned
Yeah.
wanting to help to tell other people's stories.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that that's very impactful. We had two guests who were talking about specifically telling their people's stories, and you're someone who wants to lift folks up. I actually brought my phone out to take a picture, and I'll go to your website later, of the first illustration you showed. And it was a beautiful Black woman with like this huge afro. And it just reminded me of my niece who's finding her image and her voice in North Carolina, by the way.
Yeah.
And I was going to send her a picture and be like, this woman looks powerful. She looks like you know, and then you scroll down. So I'll have to go back to it later, but you don't know how your work can impact somebody. So quite impactful personal journey, and still just as impactful. So thank you.
And in doing so, I also love to, I have a great appreciation for what other people have to create. And I always try to learn from that as well. Like, even if it's something I can't do or I can't make, I can just sit back and just bathe in that light, bathe in that experience, and enable that voice in any way I possibly can, using whatever tools I've been given.
I love that. I love that. And speaking of tools, I see that you answered this, but anyone who missed it, a question was asked to Rakan what kind of tools and software you use for your artwork. And you said you're quick with it, but you said Procreate on iPad.
That's the teacher in me. I taught through COVID, so like I'm ready.
Yes. Same. You're like, boom, boom, boom. Let me be in the chat here. Let me do this. Breakout rooms. Got it. I love that.
I got that down. So Procreate is one I'm primarily using now, but I started getting into digital illustration back in 2016 when I started doing my master's, and Procreate wasn't really a thing then. So it was initially Photoshop, but Adobe is like really cumbersome in terms of having to subscribe to all their tools. Procreate is like a one-time payment. When I got it, it was like $20, boom, and like you can use it forever and as much as you need to. For audio design, for visual design, for video stuff, like you have different tools if you guys want to know what those are, but they're mostly Adobe products. What else do I use? Yeah, I guess those are primarily the ones. Less tools, but I know people who are not up to date with like the new and current software. They're using the old school stuff, but they have a flow. They have a process, like they know how to use it, and they know how to use it really well, that it almost feels like too much effort to learn something new. And this is where, you know, old school style comes in, old school thinking. But if they're able to create the way that they want to, and they don't feel the need to add anything new to it, you know, everyone's got their own path. There's no one right way to do things. And I guess that's an analogy for life. There's no one right way to walk that path.
Yeah.
You're given you're given what you have, and you use it to the best of your ability.
I love that. I had a couple more questions for you, but I feel like you sort of answered them just through speaking.
Okay.
So I'm going to combine a couple. So you mentioned that you are continuing to find your voice. And you also mentioned multiple times that you're an educator. So I guess my final question for you, and you can tie in whatever you'd like, is what would you tell someone, specifically someone who's a visual artist, illustrator, learning, what would you tell someone who was trying to find their artistic voice? And as you're thinking, I was also wondering where you draw inspiration from. So yeah, what would you tell someone who's trying to find their voice artistically?
The first word that comes to mind is authenticity. But in order to find that for yourself, I believe it's imperative that you look around in the world and see how things represent themselves authentically and other people. And it's okay to start, especially if you're like working on a project, it's okay to start. And I would even encourage just to copy what you like and do your best to do that. if you like a certain type of filming strategy or audio mixing or any kind of illustration style or animation or writing or, you know, fashion, just start copying that in any way you can, and you will fail a lot. And it's failing is so important. And you find most people who have these grand ideas, but they just pause, they stop the moment it comes to action because you're so afraid of failing and just looking foolish. That hump is probably the most difficult one to cross. Once you do, and like you let go of your ego and tell yourself, you know, I'm going to fail, it's gonna look stupid, I'm just gonna try my best. And that consistency and just doing and doing and doing and doing without worrying about what other people think, and taking whatever lessons you gain from the things that you've tried to do and you haven't done them as well as you would have wanted to. And you're copying and get to a point where you're perfecting a craft. At this point, the craft starts getting good, and in doing so, you're probably not authentically representing who you are and what your dreams and your vision is. But in doing so, you'll eventually get to a point where you have the confidence and you have the voice to share what you're doing. And I feel like I'm hitting that precipice. I've been copying a lot of styles up to this point, and I feel like I'm at the point where I'm slowly going to be able to tell my stories, which I believe in everyone. I believe that everyone's stories and everyone's voice is necessary to be heard and to be presented. And some, it could be presented to just one or two people, some could be to the entire world or a small audience. It's not, the size of your audience is not indicative of the importance of what needs to be said. Get that down.
You hear me writing that down? I'm like,
I appreciate that, Ian. Thanks. So that's advice I would give. That's what I'm going through now, and it's helping me break down those walls and allowing me to just do and to try. And I want to add another point. In my experience teaching, I mean, if you look, the demographic of teachers is primarily, I'll just say white women, mostly, statistically. And it's very rare to find a male, even a young male of color, who's not even white, to be in a space where they're teaching in these areas. And that's pushed me to be as authentic as I possibly can, to present myself as a Muslim, as a young man, relatively young compared to the others I was teaching with. And that brought a lot to my students, who sought, particularly my young boys, who sought that kind of validation, that kind of mentorship, that kind of guidance, but couldn't really find it with anyone that they could relate with. And I only realized it when I was in the space, and I noticed that the troubled kids, you know, the ones that always gave everyone else a hard time, are the ones that were so open with me and so willing to learn from me. And that helped me realize that I need to be myself, you know, and the ones that want to be around me will gravitate towards me. If you're going to put off an image and try to be someone that you're not, you're going to be magnetizing the wrong audience for who you are, and that in the long run is going to hurt you. You may notice, like, as we get older, our circles of friends just continues to get smaller, and that's us trying to figure out who we are, and we realize this is what I want in my life, this is what I don't want in my life. Yeah, I mean, it may seem irrelevant, but I wanted to share that point too.
Nothing's irrelevant. Nothing's relevant. Well, thank you. We really appreciate it. And look, you were educating us even throughout what you were speaking. So thank you.
I prefer to learn, but thank you.
Sometimes the best way we learn is through teaching, right? There's a lot of educators on here, so we appreciate it. Relevant and poignant, yes. Give it up for Rakan. Put some love in the chat. Thank you, mashallah, you're wonderful. And can I bring up our other two guests as well? Kabir and Martina. Thank you for joining us today. Yes, peace sign. Where you at? Beautiful. Thank you for joining us. We just want to send love to you. Throw some hearts up. Y'all have been amazing.
We'll do this.
Okay. All that, all of it, everything. Thank you so much. And just continue to pay it forward. I'm with Rakan right here. On my screen, you got to go the other way. But you know what? I always say we'll fix it in post. We probably won't, but we'll fix it in post. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And I can't wait to cross paths with all of you. Oh, yes. And if you would like to support, you can scan the QR code to donate and join us for future MIPSTERZ events. Have a beautiful evening and pay all this good energy forward. Yes, I'll be reaching out to all of you, Rakan, Kabir, and Martina. We are all now connected for life, so don't forget about me because I'm coming to your events. I'm advocating for your people. I'm advocating for myself. Let's do this. Yes. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Good night.
Thank you so much, guys.